for quadratic formula and for factoring, you have to make sure it's set equal to 0. So B is already set equal to 0. A is 4, B is -1, and C is +2. So I always start with the discriminant, which is what's underneath right here. This is where we're going to start. So I'm going to take my B value, square it, -4 times A times C. So B goes in my first parentheses. A goes in the second one. C goes in the third one. All right, pick up your calculator and type it in. This is important. You have to put this in parentheses when you type it in your calculator. If you don't put it in parentheses, you will get the wrong answer. All right, what you get? Anybody else get -31? Do we all agree? Raise your hand if that's what you got. Okay. So -31 is my discriminant. And that is underneath the square root. That's the part of the quadratic formula that's underneath the square root. So now we need to simplify it. Now, there's two things that we're looking for when we simplify a square root. We're looking for a negative and we're looking for a perfect square. So I can't divide 31 evenly by a perfect square. But I can take out the negative. So I'm going to separate this into -1 times 31. Does anybody remember what the square root of -1 equals? I. Yep. So we did the hard part. That's the hardest part of the quadratic formula. From here, I'm just going to finish it out. I'm going to put my fraction bar. Now, it tells me in the front to flip B. So because B is a -1, I'm going to start it with a +1. Plus or minus. And then my denominator is 2 times A. A is 4. So 2 times 4 would be 8. Now, you always want to make sure you can't reduce it. Their invisible number out here is a 1. There isn't anything that can divide into 1, 1, and 8 besides 1. So I cannot simplify this down like we did yesterday. That's it. I am done. Done and done. All right. So now, yes. Yes. Let me zoom out. Yes, always 2 times A. And this time A is 4, so 2 times 4 would be 8. All right, so now we're learning. Oh, sorry. One more time. No, you don't have to put the 1. Let me take it away. I normally wouldn't. Oops, okay, I can't take it away. I just put it there so you all can remember that we can simplify it. Good questions. Keep them coming. Okay, so there were 3 ways that I said, and you're going to have to show me all 3 ways on the first test of the year, okay? You will have to factor, you will have to do the quadratic formula, and now this new method, which is new for some people, but I was told that it is taught in Algebra 2. It's called completing the square. So I'm going to give you a moment to set up your notes. So title it Appendix 6, so we're still in A6. This is completing the square, and then glue down the recipe. So we're going to spend the rest of today on completing the square, and also going to work on it tomorrow. And I'm going to go really slow, like super slow. Feel free. If anybody needs highlighters, I have some highlighters somewhere. Oh, it's over there. And I got color pencils in that box. So whatever you need. So the first question that we're going to do is x squared plus 4x equals 21. And again, this is a question that could be factored. And you could do the quadratic formula. All three methods will get you the same answer. But you have to show me there's only one of these on the test that you can solve by completing the square. Does anybody remember doing this in Algebra 2? They swore to me that they did. We had a whole meeting yesterday. But that's okay though, because that's why I gave you the recipe. All right, so completing the square is different because we don't want it to equal 0. We don't want it to equal 0. We want it to equal 0 for factoring in a quadratic formula, but we don't want it for completing the square. We want it to equal the constant, which if you see, this is already set up that way. I have A and B, and then C is on the right. Okay, everybody got that? Step 2, we don't have to do yet. Because what is A? 1. We don't have to take out 1. 1 is that universal number that's just always going to be there. This step only applies when A is not 1. So maybe you want to write that next to the recipe. This is when A does not equal 1. That's when we do step 2. So we can skip down to the third step. Step 3, I'm going to rewrite this and give myself a little space. So I have x squared plus 4x plus something equals 21 plus something. So to figure out the number that goes on that blank, we have to take the b value, which what is b? 4. Divide that by 2. And then square it. Which is still going to give you 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. So that's the number that happens to go here, here, and here. So we're going to put a 4 on both sides, both of those little dashes. Step 4 is factor the left. So only this side. I'm going to factor that down. And it will be a perfect square. So what I need to do when I'm factoring this down, make my 2 parentheses. I know I'm doing a shortcut because A is 1. Put my X in front. We have to find 2 numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 4. So what numbers multiply to 4 and add to a positive 4? 2. 2 and 2. And notice that it's the same thing. In math, we don't write things twice. If we're multiplying something against itself, we just say it's x plus 2 squared. And it's always going to be something squared. And that's going to equal, all right, what's 21 plus 4? 25. Almost done. Step 5. take the square root of both sides. So I'm taking the square root over here and of 25. Now, when you square something or take the square root of something that's squared, these are opposites. They undo each other, just like adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing. Square and square root, they undo each other. So all I will have on the right is just a plain old x plus 2. Now we're going to take the square root of, all we will have on the left is a plain old x plus 2. Now we're taking the square root of 25, which is 5, but it's also negative 5. That's why in the recipe it says, don't forget the plus minus. That's important. So it equals plus and minus 5. And now my last step is to solve it. Now we only separate it if we have a perfect square. So you see how we got a 25 and that's a perfect square? That's the only time we have to separate it into two equations. So I'll show you what I mean. I have x plus 2 equals positive 5 and x plus 2 equals negative 5. If that wasn't a perfect square, we would not separate it. Now go ahead and solve both of those equations for x. So when we subtract 2, okay. So now we're ready to solve it. So in order to solve it, I'm subtracting 2. And I get x equals 3 and x equals negative 7. That is how we complete the square. Any questions? Everybody is tired, huh? I am very tired today. Okay, let's do it again, y'all. I know that says bell work, but ignore that because it's not. So same recipe, different question. Go ahead and copy it down. Again, we're just following the recipe card. Okay. Now remember, when you are doing this method, the only thing that can stay on the left are A and B. I have to move this negative 32. This can't stay. How do I move it over to the right? Add it. So let's do that. And that's going to give me x squared plus 6x. I'm going to leave myself some space. And that's going to equal 9 plus 32, which is 41, plus a space. Now, again, we skipped number 2 because A is still 1, so we don't have to worry about that right now. So we need to figure out what number is going to go on the line. And that number is B divided by 2 squared. So go ahead and that should always be a perfect square. It should be a 4, a 9, a 16, a 25. We're always adding a perfect square. So 6 divided by 2, because B is 6. 6 divided by 2 squared is what? Who agrees? That is 9. Okay, let's put a 9 here and here. Okay, now we're ready to factor this down. (41 plus 9 is 50). All right, so we need to find 2 numbers. It's always going to be the same number in both parentheses. 2 numbers that multiply to 9 but add to 6. Multiply to 9, add to 6. Anybody over here know? Yeah, multiplies to be, here, let me write it out. Multiplies to be 9, adds to 6. So it is 3. So that factors down to x plus 3 times x plus 3. But that's not how we're going to write it. We're going to write it as x plus 3 squared.
Would that just be like you trying to simplify it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the next thing I'm going to do is take the square root. Now this time I didn't get a perfect square. The first time we got a perfect square. This time we didn't. So we do have to do some work with that 50. So we have x plus 3 equals. All right, now let's simplify 50. I don't care how you do it. You can build your cake with the 50, or you can take out the biggest perfect square. Who builds cakes? Who just takes out the perfect square? Okay. I can do it in both ways, but I won't always be able to do it in both ways. So if you're building a cake, we're only going to divide it by 2, 3, and 5. So we start off with 2. We can't divide 25 by 3, but we can divide it by 5. Okay, so I have a pair of 5s and then a 2 that did not have a twin, so it has to stay. If you're taking out the perfect square in 50 is 25. So you would break that down to 25 times 2, but you still get 5 and a 2. So regardless, whichever method you decide to do, on the right, you should put plus minus 5 root 2. Yes. Yeah, this passes on my desk. You can fill it out with an ink pen and bring it over here. I'll sign it. Okay, this time we don't have to separate it. And the reason why is because we don't have a perfect square. So the only thing we have to do is solve it. And to solve it, we just need to get x by itself. So in other words, I have to move over that positive 3. Now, when I subtract 3 from both sides, these are not like terms. So you cannot subtract this and say that that's 2 root 2. This is the same as saying a 5x. They're not like terms. So that negative 3 is just going to move in front. So my final answer will be x equals negative 3 plus or minus 5 square root of 2. So this question would not be able to factor, but you could do the quadratic formula. Okay, how we feeling? I know we tired though. I'm real tired.
Is it okay to write that as 5 root 2 minus 2? Or
Yeah, you could also, but you still have to have the plus minus. So you could write it as plus minus 5 root 2 minus 3. I would take that also. All right, just a couple more and then we'll call it for today. I think you all seem to be, I think this first period is too early to do math. 7:15 kind of early, so. Okay, one more where A is 1. I'm going to give you about a minute, 2 minutes. See how much you can get done by yourself. Just take 2 minutes, see if you can follow the recipe. And then we'll go through it together. Okay, so this homework is going to replace the pink one. So the pink one you got, throw that away. I didn't change the numbers, I just changed the due dates. So we're using this one, not the pink one. So homework 1 is due Friday instead of tomorrow. And I moved some of the other ones also. We got 2 whole days. And hopefully by the end of tomorrow, we are feeling very confident. It's always going to be positive because if you square a number, it's always positive. That's a good question. The number that we're adding, it should always be positive. Is that yours? Okay. Is it Belinda?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My lupus is acting up already. I'm tired. Okay, then like I'll be a rough week. You have to find 2 numbers that multiply to 81 and add to negative 18. You're welcome. It looks like this one you got a perfect square, so that's good. factor the number at the end and add to the number in the middle. Okay, yeah, so go ahead and type it in. -3 minus 42. Yep, that's good. Okay, so let's do it real quick. That was pretty good. I didn't realize I gave you one this easy because you get a perfect square. So first step should have been subtract 42. Which gives you x squared minus 18x equals -45. Is that right? Okay, so now we need to figure out the number that will make this side a perfect square. To find that number, we take b divided by 2 and square it, which would be a positive 81. Notice that I put a plus. It's always a positive number. It's always a perfect square. So if you put in like a minus 38, that's not right. That's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, but I'm making it so that b is always even. So it will always be a perfect square. Okay, so now we're ready to factor this side down. So this is A, B, C. So we need two numbers that multiply to be 81 and add to -18. Which I don't know if you all has anyone recognized the pattern yet on what this number, if you look back at the other two examples, what is this number compared to this? It's a pattern. What'd you say, Denise? Not the difference. Not the GCF. What's half of -18? -9. This is always half of B. When you do this formula, and then you get here, it's just half. So whatever this number is, when you put it in the factor form, it's half. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you all factor that faster. So now we're ready to take the square root of both sides, and we get x minus 9 equals, and we got a perfect square, plus and minus root 36. Oh, sorry. What is the square root of 36? 6. Now we got a perfect square, so we can actually separate this. X minus 9 equals 6. X minus 9 equals -6. Add 9. I'm telling you, this weather, I don't think I'm ever going to make it to the fair. Every time I say I'm going to go, it rains. So you should get x equals 15 and x equals 3. Okay, I want to walk through the process of when A is not 1. And don't worry, we're going to practice this tomorrow too. So, we're going to still practice this recipe tomorrow. Yes. It'll say it in the directions. So, it'll say, solve by completing the square. Or it'll say, solve by factoring. Or solve using the quadratic formula. So, you just have to follow the directions for the question. Good, that's good. All right, let's do this one and then we will end there.
How come for this one we didn't do this?
Because this is not a perfect square.
Okay. Thank you.
So let's go ahead and do this one and then we'll call it a day. This is the first one where A was not 1. Now we have an A value of 3. So now we're not skipping over. And I know it says C. It shouldn't say C though. This is like the 4th question. I added some questions in the middle. Okay, so this is the first time that we're doing the whole recipe and we're not skipping over number 2. We still started off the same. I have to move this to the right. It's positive. So when I move it to the right, it's going to become negative. So that's the first step in the recipe. So we cannot try to complete the square yet because we have to eliminate the 3. Now, I want to make sure you understand I am not touching this number. That's why it says from the left. So A is 3. I'm dividing only these 2 numbers by 3. Just those 2 numbers. And I'm going to write it as 3 parentheses x squared minus 8x. Now I'm going to put my plus sign. And then I'm putting, this is the tricky part. On the right, I have to put a negative 15 plus that 3. I need to also multiply that by that number. So, because everything in this parentheses is being tripled. So that means to keep my equation balanced, because remember, whatever I do on the left, I have to do on the right. So if I'm multiplying the parentheses by 3 on the left side, I have to do the same thing on the right. So now we're ready to complete the square. This is my new B value. This is what I'm using. Take that negative 8. So we're not using that negative 24. That's not the B value anymore. It's negative 8. Take negative 8. Cut it in half. And square it. It should be a perfect square. And it should be positive. So half of negative 8 is negative 4. And negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. So I want you to put a 16 here and here. Yes. As long as you don't mess with the 15. You cannot take it out the 15. So if you're going to remember to do that, you can. You can switch up my recipe as long as your final result look good. But I always move C over first because I want it out of the way.
And why do we have to make C negative?
C is negative?
I mean, like, why
Oh, sorry. Because it's positive and I had to subtract it. That's how it became negative. Good questions. Okay. So now we're ready to factor this down. I'm going to have a 3 times something squared. So 2 numbers that multiply to be a positive 16 and add to a negative 8 is what? I just told y'all the shortcut. Positive 4 or negative 4? So this is going to be x minus 4 squared. Now pick up your calculators and type this in. Negative 15 plus 3 times 16. Now, if I remember from first period, it's 33. Okay, so now we're going to solve it. Now, when I'm solving, would I take the square root first or would I divide the 3 out first? You would divide the 3 out first. So we're going to do that. And then we didn't get a perfect square. So we don't have to separate it because 11 is not a perfect square. So last step, take the square root. And that gives you x minus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 11. Add 4. And this is your final answer. So I know it's a new process, but we will get there.
So we don't need to do the cake method?
We don't need to who?
Cake method?
No, because 11, if you do the cake method for 11, nothing's going to come out. Because you can't divide 11 by a perfect square. And because 11 is a prime number, so.